What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another video. It is your host, Trent James, and I hope you are all doing well. Before I get into the topic of today's video, I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to everyone that's contributed to my GoFundMe so far to keep this channel alive and active. As I've stated multiple times in the past, I do not get paid for these videos. I do them because I enjoy them. And I also enjoy providing you all information that you would not get from any other source, especially in Mendocino County, because all you guys have to go off of is false, fabricated, biased, one-sided articles with absolutely zero fact checking. So I like to be able to provide you guys with real, factual, truthful information that comes from verifying my sources and not just putting out stuff based on my emotions. That being said, with full transparency here, time is money. And so if you decide to contribute to my GoFundMe or through subscriptions to the YouTube channel itself, or through my Patreon account, it will help me tremendously in taking the time away from other projects to dedicate into making more content and more video for you guys. And I'm not just going to be focusing on Mendocino County. I have so many emails and people to get back to from stuff like this in other states, other counties, but it helps me justify taking the loss somewhere else to put into these videos, because these videos do take an enormous amount of time, and I wish that I had more time these days to put into them, but unfortunately I don't. And when it comes down to my information acquisition and investigations, they do take a lot of time. That being said, if you're interested in doing that, that would be great, because then I could continue to make more videos and spend more time doing that. But if not, that's cool too. Let's go ahead and get into today's video. So the city of Ukiah, which is in Mendocino County, the northern part of California, where I was a law enforcement officer for a number of years, just recently, again, paid out a settlement of $1.75 million to a female victim of sexual assault. Her assailant, and the suspect in this case, was none other than ex-Ukiah Police Sergeant Kevin Murray with the Ukiah Police Department in Mendocino County. And we haven't talked about Kevin Murray for a while on this channel. Those that are local to Mendocino County are very familiar with Kevin and his wacky shenanigans and antics and the stuff that he's gotten away with over the years. Those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, just a brief recap. He was a sergeant with the police department there for over 10 years, or about 10 years, I want to say. And everything kind of started off, we're going to get into the old stuff, but officially documented, started off in 2018 when Kevin was a sergeant on duty. He got dispatched to a call where he encountered a man by the name of Chris Roskew, who was a disabled military veteran. And on that call, Kevin took it upon himself to break into Chris's apartment and beat him senselessly and violate his Fourth Amendment rights and cause substantial injury to Chris, which is going to be with him for the rest of his life. As a result of that incident, Kevin Murray lost a civil case. Actually, the city of Ukiah lost that civil case and paid out Chris Roskew at the time a 7-figure settlement. Fast forward to 2020. Sergeant Kevin Murray was on duty. He was a part of a traffic enforcement stop involving a young woman. Long story short, he got her information, her phone number, later broke into her hotel room in the city of Ukiah, sexually assaulted her. She came forth with that information. Later, she was paid a settlement of $250,000. The next year, 2021, Kevin Murray was fired, and he later was sentenced in court and only received 2 years probation, and did not have to register as a sex offender or do any jail or prison time, even though up front he had committed several felony offenses, the vast majority of which were sexually related. We're going to get into that later. But this most recent settlement, this $1.7 million payout, this female victim, so she was a law enforcement officer in Mendocino County. She first started her career at the Ukiah Police Department in like 2012 or 2013, somewhere around there. And then she subsequently went on to transfer to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office as a deputy. And she was my partner for a period of time. Phenomenal cop, very intelligent, very nice to work with. And anybody that worked with her will say the same. I'm not going to mention her name for obvious reasons. Okay. So the incident with her occurred in 2013 when she was a brand new officer, a rookie at the Ukiah Police Department, where she's just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and happy to have a job, right, as a cop. I remember that feeling too. Like, I'm just happy to be here, everybody. So there was a training in Walnut Creek, which is a affluent city in the North Bay area. And at the conclusion of one of these training days, she was going back to her hotel room, and Kevin Murray, I don't know if he was a sergeant there at the time. He might have been, but he was obviously an officer with the Ukiah Police Department, was escorting her back to her hotel room. And he told her, hey, I'm Kevin Murray. I am the man. Okay. And if you want to be successful here at the Ukiah Police Department and you want to go on to get promoted and be police chief one day, maybe even president, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks to ensure your success. However, in order to do that, I need to come into your hotel room and take my clothes off, right? Essentially, that's what happened. He forced his way in there, sexually assaulted her, and told her later, no one's going to believe you. And even if they do, who are you? I'm going to get away with it. And that is the truth. And that is facts. And that's how that entire world works. So people listening to this or other cases that have involved similar things, right? You might be like, as a guy, you might be like, oh, why didn't she report that? Or even women, why didn't she report that? I would have. Okay. So you don't know what you're talking about. Clearly, that's just pure ignorance. You weren't in that situation. You have no clue. Being in a male dominated profession, especially law enforcement, it is way different than a lot of things. And people might say, oh, well, that type of stuff happens in every job. Okay, well, this is completely different than your job at Comcast. Okay. You're in law enforcement, you're held to a higher standard. We swear an oath that we will keep our private lives unsullied. We are held to a higher standard because we do have a badge and a gun. We are going to these calls to enforce the law and take away people's freedom if they break the law and potentially take them to jail. Okay, so that is a completely different element, 100%. But also, being a woman in that profession, you are preyed upon, and I've seen this myself, mostly by the command staff, the brass, talking lieutenants, captains, chiefs, sheriffs, etc. You have sergeants and you have your street cops in there, but you have like a brand new female rookie, and all these guys, specifically the ones that are married or in relationships with kids, they love to jump on the new girl and try to slide in the DMs and see if they can get to hook up with her. Okay. It's just like, that's just how that world is. And again, you're going to say, well, that's in every job, Trent. But again, this is so much different and it causes so many issues, and you're going to see why. Okay. So just for an example here, okay, so my old agency, Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, right? The sergeant there, Richard Van Buren, who I worked with for a number of years, he was on the SWAT team. He was also an FTO, a field training officer, meaning he trained new people. He worked on the coast in Fort Bragg primarily before he transferred down to the Ukiah office to work as a sergeant. So Rich was famous for saying this, okay? And I heard it myself. So did everybody else that worked with him, okay? He did not believe that women belonged in law enforcement. He would say they had no business being cops. He did not like it. He would actually go out of his way to try to fail them on training if he could, specifically just because they were women. And again, I've heard them say this, so have a lot of other people, right? So Rich Van Buren had been sexually harassing cops in that county, correctional officers, dispatchers for years. It had been reported periodically throughout the years, but nothing ever got done with that until not that long ago, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, when a bunch of women affiliated with the sheriff's office there, dispatch, the jail, came together and said, okay, we have had enough of this. He's touching us. He's saying really inappropriate things. He's like 50 years old. He's super creepy. He smells weird. And like, we're not having this anymore. So finally, the sheriff there, Mendocino County, Matt Kendall's like, oh, dang it. Now I guess I got to do something about that. Well, I'm going to lose my renter at my house because Rich Van Buren rents out the sheriff's secondary home in Brook Trails in Willits, right? They're buddies. So now, but that's just my point. You go to report something like that, which these women have in the past against Rich Van Buren, and it goes overlooked. Or you will get fired. If you're going to go against the good old boys club, they will fire you. Okay, especially if you're a rookie and a new person, and especially if you're a woman. They don't want that drama. You're going to come in and affect us? No. You're going to play ball. Otherwise, we're going to get rid of you on probation because they don't need cause. And if you try to transfer someone else, we're going to call down to that chief or that sheriff or the background investigator and make up stuff if we have to, so that you do not get another job anywhere. I've seen this myself. It's crazy, but it happens. The level of immaturity, pettiness, and vindictiveness and hypocrisy that goes with these guys is insane. The fact that they do have a badge and a gun and are supposed to be adults going to a big boy job that they shouldn't have passed their psych evaluations, but that is just that world. Okay. So if this female victim that was an officer at the time had reported that against Kevin Murray, instantly fired, 100%. Okay. That's how that works. And I think that Richard Van Buren has finally been let go, but don't hold me on that. Okay. Because he's been off work for a long time, like a year and a half now. And it took him way too long to do that investigation. Right. And also, Sheriff Matt Kendall saying his guys are doing all good and everything's all good, like he did on this recent podcast, when he's facing more stuff. Two of his guys have been fired. One of them's been arrested for the sexual assault and the domestic violence. Now, this most recent one, Deputy Marcus McCarty, who drove his patrol vehicle off duty to a bar in Willits, crashed his car into a guardrail, and then decided just to continue on with his night and drive home. So he's under investigation there with the good old boys club. Matt Kendall, I thought you said everything was copacetic. Matt Kendall, what's going on? What you doing there, Matt Kendall? Are you on that podcast with Drew and Carter saying that everything's okay at your office there? Is that what you're doing? Oh, you rascal, you. But to kind of put this world more like into perspective here, you got to look at the relationships. Okay. Who's buddies with who? What lieutenant are you friends with? Are you friends with the sergeants, and like that element? Are you drinking buddies? Are you trout fishing buddies with Matt Kendall? Like, what do you guys do on your off time together? Right. Specifically, I'm going to focus for this video. Specifically, I'm going to focus on Kevin Murray, and I'm going to show you guys how he's been able to get away with things how he did get away with things for so long, and how the city of Ukiah is still paying out settlements, even though he hasn't worked there in 4 years. It's crazy. It's because everybody he worked for and with at the time was a giant POS themselves. All right. And they're all covering for each other. They all got dirt on each other. They're all driving around drunk together and taking advantage of women in the community. Okay. Let's take a trip back to 2014. Okay. So this incident with this most recent victim occurred in 2013. 2014. I'm going to show you guys what that time looked like at the Ukiah Police Department with Kevin Murray and his buddy, Noble Weidlich, who went on to become a police chief at Ukiah Police Department. And Noble Weidlich has been fired by the city already, right, for forcing a woman on duty to give him oral sex. Noble Weidlich also lost a civil suit against his ex-girlfriend / fiance, Amanda Carley, for major domestic. So this is 2014, everyone, a year after that incident with that new officer, that female officer. And in 2014, it should be noted as well that Kevin Murray also sexually assaulted a nurse at the time twice in her own home. That case has been recently resolved as well, I believe last year. And she received a $1 million settlement. However, the city of Ukiah stated that happened when he was not on duty. So Kevin Murray had to come out of pocket on that himself. And he recently, and I believe he recently filed for bankruptcy as well. But getting back to 2014, so this is a Peace Officers Association, POA funded awards dinner ceremony thing with the Ukiah Police Department. Okay. So right here you have Noble Weidlich, who I believe was a detective at the time with the Ukiah Police Department, standing there in all his glory, peak male performance right there. Then you have Chief at the time, Christopher Dewey, who is a little weasel worm, spineless individual that let these guys do whatever he wanted. Kevin Murray, at a separate training, destroyed a hotel room in the city of Fort Bragg while he was still a cop. And Christopher Dewey had to go over there and pay for the damages with his own credit card so that it did not get reported to the city because he wanted to protect Kevin. Then right below that, you have Justin Wyatt, who went on to become the chief after Dewey, and I'll get into him later. So this is this ceremony, okay? Now we're going to look at how some of these relationships work. So at the same awards ceremony, it turned into a, quote, terrorist-themed party here, where on the far right, you have the legend Noble Weidlich wearing his robe. To the left of him in this get-up and fake turban thing, you have Ross Lunsford, who was a police officer with the Ukiah Police Department at the time. And Ross Lunsford had been arrested for DUI. He was a known alcoholic. He'd hit parked cars while he was drunk driving. He also got arrested for domestic violence himself. Then to the left of that, you have Kevin Murray. Just look at him, looking up to his heroes and just fascination, right? This is the guys that he's looking up to. And then, of course, in the foreground here, you have Justin Wyatt just condoning all of these shenanigans, these drunken shenanigans that the POA paid for, right? So you have these relationships, okay, and these friends. So Noble Weidlich, that drunken idiot, right, that I showed you guys a picture of that later went on to become chief. So fast forward to 2018 with the Chris Roscoe incident where Kevin Murray beat up Chris for no reason. At the time, I don't know if this is still applicable, but they investigated their own at the Ukiah Police Department, which of course you never do. So you never do that, right? We investigated ourselves and determined there's nothing going on here that's illegal. But that female victim that recently got paid out, the ex-cop, the $1.75 million, she was a detective at the time. And she was tasked with conducting the internal investigation essentially on Kevin Murray for the Chris incident to just determine if he had violated policy or not, if he was justified in his actions or not. Yes, the city still paid out in the civil suit, but they wanted to see if Kevin was going to get in trouble internally, like lose his job. And Kevin's friend, Noble Weidlich, the woman abuser and sexual deviant himself, being the lieutenant, ordered this female officer to clear Kevin on that. She's like, well, I can't. I don't have all the information. I don't have the body cam footage. Kevin lied on his report, which came out in court too, and changed it. So I can't say that he's good on this case. And Noble Weidlich said, well, you're going to. That's an order, right? And so she had to. So that's how Kevin continuously gets protected. He got protected by Chief Chris Dewey when Kevin was running amok at these hotel rooms and doing things, protected by his buddy, Noble Weidlich, who was the lieutenant, later went on to become chief, and just continued to coast. Meanwhile, he was running amok. When this whole thing started with this 2020 incident with Kevin Murray breaking into that woman's hotel room, sexually assaulting her, she got that $250,000 payout. This female officer at the Ukiah Police Department, she was in the process of transferring to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office as a deputy. And she told the chief at the time, Justin Wyatt, that guy that had been in that 2014 picture, along with Lieutenant Noble Weidlich in the same room in the chief's office, like, hey, I'm starting a lawsuit against Kevin Murray. Like, he just got arrested and he's going to get fired for this new incident. You guys found meth in his locker. And I'm going to report, I'm reporting that he sexually assaulted me at that training in 2013. And essentially, Justin Wyatt said, well, that's interesting. Well, just so you know, I know you're going to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, but I just want to throw this out there. This has nothing to do with anything, and it's definitely not a threat. But the sheriff over there, Matt Kendall, and I, we're good friends, just so you know. So best of luck. Right? And that was basically their response. They didn't care that Kevin was wrapped up in any of this stuff. They're still quasi defending him. They don't feel bad for her. They don't feel bad for any of Kevin's other victims because they have that same mindset. And we see that fast forwarded with Noble Weidlich and his activities. But she was also prompted to go in there and start this lawsuit because she stated this is all in her disposition. But Justin Wyatt, the chief at the time, had put out a press release to the public on Kevin Murray and that incident in 2020, saying that they acted promptly and did the right thing. So she wasn't having that because she knew that that wasn't the case. Right. But they didn't care. And then she later went on to transfer to the sheriff's office. But also in 2014, I'm going to take it back again really quick. And I've done videos on all this stuff, you guys. This is just major abridged versions of this stuff. But back in 2014, too, and 2015, 2016, like Noble Weidlich was actively abusing physically his live-in at the time girlfriend / fiance, Amanda Carley, who was a probation officer with the Mendocino County Probation Department, in front of her kids. Okay. Somebody had reported, I think it was in 2015, because I was around for some of that. Somebody had reported on her behalf that they were afraid that Noble was abusing her. And he was the detective at the time. He was a cop. So while she was at the Mendocino County Probation Department working as a probation officer, she had an investigator come in and try to question her about the domestic violence. Hey, are you sure that this is really happening? Like pretty much trying to talk her out of it. That's actually what happened. I did 3 videos on this. And her being in that position, just like these other females, like they're scared. They don't know what to do, right? Same thing with my old lieutenant at Willits Police Department, where he got fired. And, only took that one woman getting the courage to come forward because I was putting out videos, and the city of Willits paid out $2.25 million for that guy. And now you guys have drunk Tom Allman as the mayor there. Who thought that was a good idea? What is wrong with you people? What? Everyone's sending that to me. I'm like, that guy's DUI all over the county, just running amok. He's part of the corruption. He had to retire early from Mendocino County Sheriff's Office to escape the RICO case. You guys are crazy. Anyway, so when Amanda Carley got approached by that investigator, she was scared, and she's like, she saw her job and her life and her kids flashing before her eyes. She didn't know what to do, and she lied. She said, "No, nothing's happening at home." Fast forward a few years, she ended up reporting the abuse that Noble was doing to her, black eyes, beating her up. Again, her kids were her main concern at that point. She's like, I can't continue to live this way. When she finally reported it, she got in trouble at work. She got written up by the chief there, Buck Ganter at the time. She had her gun taken away. She was in jeopardy of losing her job because they said, wait, you said in 2015 that nothing happened. Now you're saying that you want to be a victim of domestic violence now? So you lied. So you're a liar. They punished her because she wasn't comfortable at the time when she got ambushed at work, which you never interview somebody like that at work, especially if it's in the law enforcement field in the same county. That investigator's a dumbass. But because she didn't want to be a victim at that time, and she was comfortable with it later on, they punished her. So see, same thing. So if you report this stuff, you guys, or you don't, like, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? You can't fight the man in general, but especially in Mendocino County, you will lose 100% of the time. See that with this sweetheart deal that Kevin Murray later got in court. So he was later charged with several felonies, most of which were sexual related crimes, right? So when he got arrested for breaking into that woman's room, they found meth in his locker at work and all that sort of a thing. Up front, when you're going to get charged with a felony, your case will go to a local probation department. So in this case, it was Mendocino County Probation, because they're going to determine if you're going to be suitable for probation, or they're going to give a recommendation like, no, this guy needs to go to jail or prison, right? And the judge doesn't have to listen to their recommendation, but they definitely look at it and take it into consideration. So they do what's called a PSI, a pre-sentence investigation report. But because Kevin was a local cop, they sent it out of county to Sonoma County Probation. And Sonoma County Probation gave a recommendation after all these felonies and sex crimes have been committed of only 1 year of jail for Kevin. Later, they're like, oh, well, we didn't get all the documents in this case from the prosecution. Yeah, that totally wasn't done intentionally. So they had major lack of information on Kevin and what he had done. That's why they're like, oh, that's why we didn't recommend prison, only jail, because somebody didn't send us the documents. But then you have the chief at the time with the Mendocino County Probation Department, Eisen Locatelli, that was like, well, if they didn't get all the documents, why didn't they reach out to us and let us know? Then we could have provided it. And Eisen's a straight dude. And Eisen's a great guy. He's a great chief, and he knows his shit. But he's saying, like, these guys, they knew that they didn't have all the information, right? Because at first, the DA, Dave Eister there, when all this was transpiring with Kevin Murray, was like, I'm going to go hard at Kevin Murray, because I was around for this time too in 2020. I'm going to make sure that he's a sex registrant. I'm going to send him to prison. I'm not going to stand for this. And then at the very end of it, Kevin gets 2 years probation, doesn't have to register as a sex registrant, basically gets off of it. And he's off of probation now. It's been over 2 years, right? And that's also the hookups that Kevin had. He got to do whatever he want, even after he was fired from law enforcement and arrested. And then also during Kevin's sentencing, you have Judge Ann Mormon. And Ann Mormon, I'm just majorly disappointed in you. This is absolutely ridiculous. So Judge Mormon got bamboozled by Kevin Murray. So she believes that Kevin Murray was genuinely remorseful for all of his sexual deviancy, as he expressed in a letter he wrote to her earlier this month. But that genuine remorse and the harm caused by his conduct are not mutually exclusive. Quote, the damage you have done to the Ukiah Police Department cannot be underestimated. She told him near the end of the proceeding, it will take generations for trust in law enforcement to be fully restored of your conduct. So Kevin Murray wrote a letter in Cran with the help of somebody else and gave it to Judge Ann Mormon, who's seen thousands of cases at this point. And I've sat before her as well. Okay, Mormon, wow. You believe Kevin Murray was genuinely remorseful, a major sexual predator. who has a track record and history of this behavior, and you think how his brain is wired to be that way, you think he's remorseful, and that's why you only gave him 2 years probation. Then she went on to say, if he takes one step out of line, I'm going to send him to prison. That didn't happen either, because he later got in trouble for stealing a wallet in Lake County and some other shit, and he just got to do whatever he wanted at the end of the day. But no, somebody like Kevin Murray is not remorseful in any regard. You should know that. And if you don't, you need to step down as judge, because that's crazy. That's what I mean, you guys. It's all over the place there. It's like it's crazy. The fact that he was in that position and he got away with all those things. So did Noble Weidlich. So did all these chiefs at the Ukiah Police Department. That's why they can't maintain a chief for long at all, because all these things keep happening under their quote leadership, and they're going to have to be dealing with that. And the city of Ukiah is like, they have the ultimate say on whether that chief's going to keep his job or not. And sometimes behind closed doors, they tell these chiefs, like, you should probably retire in lieu of termination. We saw that in the city of Willits as well with my old police chief, Fabian Lizaragua, forced retirement, right? That happens a lot of times, but they will continue to retaliate on you if you go to report this. So that female victim, she filed the lawsuit against Kevin Murray with the, got the $1.75 million settlement recently. She later transferred to the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office to work as a deputy, right? And later, due to some PTSD and other issues, she went to work part-time in quote professional standards there at the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office, basically assisting with background checks. Her boss at the time was Zohar Zaid, who illegally tased 2 people in the jail, violated their rights. He got a promotion to determine if certain cops or certain people are going to be suitable for jobs in law enforcement doing their background checks. So Justin Wyatt, the chief, saying, I'm friends with Matt Kendall. Well, later she got laid off by the undersheriff Darren Brewster there, and Matt Kendall was a part of that too, because she was working 5 to 10 hours a month, and they said, hey, the county can no longer afford your extra help position. Yet right when she left, they brought in at least 1 or 2 guys that were retired sergeants with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office to assist in doing background checks. So how can you afford them, or even one of them, but you're letting her go, but these 2 old white guys get to come in and do that? I don't think so. I think that was some retaliation there, old Matt Kendall, even though you're like, no, that's not retaliation. Trent's just making stuff up. I would never retaliate. I am Matt Kendall. I am a good, honest leader. Right? If you still fall for this guy's shit, you're insane. Anybody out there that actually believes anything any of these guys say, especially Matt Kendall, especially Dave Eister, you need to have like your head examined. That's just crazy at this point. They put on a nice little politician face for you, and it's somewhat believable if you are really naive, I guess. But long story short, if you report these things there, especially if you're a woman, you're going to be retaliated against, even if you're not a woman. Like, you can't go against the grain there. I've said it a million times. And the city, the county, they're going to keep paying out. There's audits coming. There's other things going on there. There's people are still getting fired. And you have a judge basically making excuses for Kevin Murray about his remorsefulness at the time when he was arrested, citing post-traumatic stress disorder. And again, I have PTSD. So do people I've worked with. We're not going around beating our significant others like ex-deputy Alex Tong with the Mendocino County Sheriff's Office. We're not committing sexual assault. So Matt Kendall with the Sheriff's Office and Quincy Cromer, the captain, they're using PTSD as an excuse for their guys committing sexual related crimes or domestic violence. Same thing with Judge Ann Mormon. Same thing with UPD. Just trying to make it so that's okay. You got mental health issues, so you can basically do whatever you want. Like, it's a good excuse to use, I guess. Crazy. That's going to be it for this one, you guys. See you in the next one. Take care.